Good evening, friends, and welcome to an unscheduled live stream. Welcome to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Tonight, we're going to discuss Rex Heuermann, the Long Island serial killer. He's going to plead guilty. He's going to plead guilty to not 7, 8 murders tomorrow in Suffolk County Court. I got confirmation from my good friend. I can't mention his name, but he works in the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office as an investigator. He confirmed to me that Rex Heuermann is set to plead guilty to the 8th murder of Karen Vergata. And here are the victims, ladies and gentlemen. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Sandra Castilla, Melissa Balthamy, Jessica Taylor, Megan Waterman, Valerie Mack, Amber Costello, and the 8th victim, Karen Vergata. Now, this brings us back to the memories, Ed, of Brian Kohlberger. Of course, he was accused and was ready to go to trial for the murders of the 4 University of Idaho college students. And he, at the last minute, pled guilty. But the judge in that case did not require him to talk about what he did to his victims. And in this case, I also got some good information that the judge in this case is more than likely going to require Rex Heuermann to give details of dates and times and so forth. We won't have court cameras. There's no cameras in the court, but we will cover that live press conference at 2 p.m. Eastern. Ray Tierney, the Suffolk DA, is set to give a press conference. Your thoughts, Ed, on this? We've been talking the media's been talking about this for 2 weeks, but we have had knowledge of this for a little bit longer.
I'm mystified as to why he's not going down swinging. Okay, why is he taking this plea? We don't have a death penalty in New York. Is this to save the pain and suffering to his family? What is the benefit in him not taking this to trial? And I can't for the life of me figure it out.
Yeah, is he all of a sudden now becoming Mr. Family Guy? Somebody who brought, ladies of the night home and potentially murdered them in his very own home where he raised his children? It's just, to me, we covered this case from the beginning all the way through. Rex Heuermann, for those of you who don't know, was arrested July 13th of 2023. This is the charging documents. I have it clipped together, and it goes in great detail of all of the evidence. Not every piece of evidence, but that is the actual official charging document. July 13th, 2023, he's arrested in Manhattan. That was when he was stopped on 35th and 5th, and he started crying, remember, out in front of his office complex, the building there. And then they started digging up his yard just a couple of weeks later on July 24th. You and I covered it. Let's take a listen to what Channel 7 is reporting. This was from earlier today.
On some breaking news in the Gilgo Beach serial murder case, and Rex Heuermann is now expected to plead guilty tomorrow in the death of an 8th woman, Karen Vergata. She was a 34-year-old from Manhattan who disappeared back in 1996 and was believed to have been working as an escort. Heuermann is expected to plead guilty to the murders of 7 women. Vergata's murder will now be included, making it for a total of 8 women. Meanwhile, ahead of tomorrow's pivotal court appearance, the son of victim Valerie Mack filed a wrongful death lawsuit in this case. Here's Long Island reporter Kristen McNally.
Rex Heuermann, the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, is expected to admit to an 8th murder at his court appearance tomorrow, according to multiple sources. They say he will admit to killing Karen Vergata, who went missing in 1996. Brigada for many years was referred to as Fire Island Jane Doe because her legs and feet were found on the bay side of Fire Island in April of 1996. 15 years later, additional remains of hers were found at Tobay Beach, according to investigators. Heuermann's alleged killing spree spans from 1993 through 2010, and he has maintained his innocence since his arrest in July of 2023. District Attorney Ray Tierney posted on social media on Tuesday saying there would be a major development in the Gilgo Beach homicide investigation. This, says Benjamin Torres, the son of Valerie Mack, another one of the alleged victims, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Rex Heuermann and his family.
Anybody who's ever lived in a home with a family, especially a tiny little home like that, is not going to tell me or anybody else that if those slaughters were taking place in the basement.
Hey, I wanted to pool the chat real quick. This is attorney John Ray. He was representing early on. Again, none of the victims in this case that Rex Heuermann is alleged to have murdered. He's going to plead tomorrow. He's going to plead guilty. But how many people in the chat like John Ray? How many people in the chat think that he's a little over the top? I just want to get an idea of what people who are following this. Are you for John Ray or are you against him? How do you feel about him? Let us know what you think. And if you're watching on a replay, let us know in the comments after the live stream is over. We always appreciate it.
Home with a family, especially a tiny little home like that, is not going to tell me or anybody else that if those slaughters were taking place in the basement, that noises, smells, stains, and the like would not have been noticed.
Valerie Mack, he's representing the son of Valerie Mack, was killed, or the homicide happened someplace in the spring or summer of 2000. Victoria Heuermann was 3 years old. How anybody could stretch a lawsuit, the factual pattern, to fit any kind of liability on a 3-year-old is beyond me. It's reckless, it's irresponsible, and it borders on malpractice.
Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, will be here outside of their home along with her attorney and their daughter to provide additional information this evening. That is the latest from Massapequa Park. Kristen McNally, Channel 7 Eyewitness.
So there you have it, Ed. This unfortunately means that there is a potential that we won't hear all of the details. Remember, there's 5 terabytes of information that was exchanged with Rex Heuermann's attorney. That's 83,000 MP3 music files, 1,250 full feature-length films, and 160,000 photos. That's 13 years of evidence that we potentially will not be seen presented in court. Thoughts on that, Ed?
Well, I mean, we're going to save the taxpayers a lot of money by not having to go through the trial, and I hope he's going to be waiving his right to appeal in this deal as well, and he doesn't change his mind in the last minute. Because that's a whole lot of evidence, and there would have been a long, drawn-out trial.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, the judge in this case, he is, from what I understand, and I'm getting this from someone in the district attorney's office, he likes to do the allocutions and have his anybody who pleads guilty makes them at least map out the crimes that he's pleading guilty to. So we may have some information tomorrow, and we will be live at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, waiting that press conference. Now, Ray Tierney, he's known to have lengthy press conferences. Ed, you remember when we were covering this, he just talks and talks and talks. I'm not sure if tomorrow will be a lengthy one, but if in fact Rex Heuermann is forced to give details, it may be lengthy because he may go over that with the public, and some of the families want to hear it, some of the families might not. but these crimes span over a long, long period of time, and they are brutal. You and I, we watched. They dug up that whole backyard. They were in his backyard with backhoes, and you and I went over it. There was in Tyvek suits. They were taking photos. Ed, let's dive a little bit back into the potentials of. We didn't hear what the results were of those all the digs and their in the basement. What potentially could we be seeing here? Is he bringing home trophies? Is he keeping pieces of jewelry and pieces of clothing from his victims?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any of that is all possible, and especially with serial killers, they like to do that so that they can relive the individual crimes they've committed, the individual essays and the murders, and sorry to say, folks, they get off on it.
Yeah, and that's disturbing to say the least, but very true. I'm going to go to some drone footage from that faithful July evening. It was July 24th of 2023. And here's some drone footage from a local homegrown person who lives on Long Island. And as you can see right here in the middle of the screen, this is his entire backyard. They excavated that.
I mean, his neighbors, I don't know how they put up with him. Like, this guy's an architect, and his house is so run down in that beautiful neighborhood there.
Yeah, I know I'm getting a spinning. I just went to a higher quality.
And look, it's all dirt in the backyard because they dug it up. Remember, there was a patio there, like a wood or like a little wood deck or patio that was attached there to the back of the house, and they took that all up.
Yeah. One of his neighbors is a retired fireman, and he was very vocal. If he was standing out in front of Rex Heuermann's house, right to the left, so where this temporary headquarters vehicle is, it's the house right over here where it keeps changing. It's right here. His neighbor is a retired fireman, and remember what he said? I don't remember the guy's name. Remember what he said? I had one problem with Rex Heuermann, and that one problem was that when my wife was sunbathing early on, way back, he was peering over the fence in his backyard here at his wife in her bikini as she sunbathed in their backyard.
Yeah, he's a big ogre of a guy. He's definitely creepy.
Yeah, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about that. This is a man that the neighbor had no idea that Rex Heuermann was a Long Island serial killer, maiming, mutilating, sexual torture. This goes very deep, the things that he's alleged to have done to his victims. And they took out like a torture chamber, right, that he had in the basement. They said it was soundproof. We watched trucks upon trucks. This is the driveway right here. Crime scene evidence, big box trucks taking out evidence, 100 and some odd long rifles, all kinds of, remember his writings, Ed, on how to not get caught, how to be more efficient, how to cut more efficiently. I mean,
remember he was he said that he was a hammer, right? He liked a hammer.
Yeah.
That he had a hammer from his father or his grandfather. I can't remember that. It was one of his precious items.
Yeah. And I mean, there is just pages upon pages. This is him going into the cell phone store. Remember, he had so many burner phones that he would use to call his the sex workers and try to lure them and get them into this home here. I want to know how much information they had as it pertains to how many of the victims were taken back to this home, if in fact they have that. But this is Massapequa Park, Long Island. This is, suburbia, beautiful homes. Look, you see the built-in pools, the beautiful landscaping, and his home was a piece of dog shit. I mean, the outside of it looked like complete trash.
It was falling down.
Yeah. And he's an architect, go figure, right? But this was 12 years of investigation in the making. And this is where I was, right out here where these cones were. I actually went out live with my gimbal and went live from this location. And this is the state police temporary headquarters vehicle. This is the gentleman who gave the interview. You could see his pool right here. You could see the pool chairs and his built-in pool in the backyard. He caught Rex Heuermann peering in at his wife. How freaking creepy is that?
That's very creepy. And I don't know that I would have been as calm as this guy.
Yeah. So a lot of people feel what Lauren Vander Ever feels. I think he's the fall guy, and someone will take care of his family if he pleads. You know, a lot of people think that James Burke, the former Suffolk County Police Chief Burke, who is a dirty dog, he frequented prostitutes and sex workers. He was recently, in the last year and a half, arrested for soliciting an undercover male for oral sex at Bald Hill in Suffolk County. That was an embarrassment in itself. I don't blame people to feel like James Burke had something to do with these murders, but at the end of the day, without the evidence, you can't really go and charge somebody. And a lot of things point back to Rex Heuermann. Yeah, he definitely needs to rot in prison. And unfortunately, I don't feel like prison justice is going to come his way, because although he has committed heinous crimes, you know, I don't really feel like he's going to get the business in prison. I think that he's going to be a celebrity in prison. I unfortunately think that, and I hope I'm wrong. He's not accused of murdering any children. He's straight out, and I hate to say it, he's got 8 counts of murder that he's pleading to. And these prisoners, they're going to look at him like he's some kind of hero. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. What did they think of Jeffrey Dahmer?
Well, Jeffrey Dahmer is a little different story. You know, yes, he did kill a lot of people. Yes, he did mutilate, but we got to hear about Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm not sure if the details are going to reach to the prison, because we don't know until tomorrow what's going to happen. But yeah, so a lot of people in the chat, some people are saying they like Johnny Ray.
Remember, Dahmer was beaten to death in prison, right?
Oh, he was, but he wasn't beaten because of his crimes. He was beaten because he was trying to have sexual relations with another prisoner, and that could also make you meet your demise in prison if you get the wrong one. Let's see. Here's some questions rolling in. So here, Taillight says, wrong. Peaches and her babies were with her. Peaches and her baby, they arrested the baby's father. A lot of people don't realize that, but there was an arrest made in that case.
Yeah, that was a military personnel.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. The guy didn't want to have the baby. He wound up killing the mom and killing the baby. Savage. But they locked him up, and that was within the last year or so. Yes, Tara is right on it. Peaches was killed by the baby's father. So look, Ed, remember we talked about this, all of this wood. I know you described that the deck was dismantled and such, but they moved all of this debris from the back of the yard to the front. And it looks like, I mean, I know this is, this could be flower beds here, this could be, but they didn't take care of their property. I was there in front of the house. I drove the car past there when the street was opened up. The front of the house has never been gardened. they never cultivated any dirt and did anything there. So they took all of the debris from the deck and everything, and here it is, right?
Yeah. You know, this guy's an out-and-out freak. So he may be one of the more prolific serial killers, and let's see what else he pleads to tomorrow. Maybe he's going to give up a whole bunch of others that he did, and this is the plea deal. Maybe that's the plea deal, right?
And a little refresher for you, Ed. I know that you remember all this stuff, but I just want to bring you back to it. They cut out a piece of his tub in his bathroom. Remember we saw that picture?
Yeah, we do that a lot.
They cut out a piece to get to the drain.
To the trap. Yeah.
Right, to the trap. And they also, there was in his bathroom, it was one of those older style homes, it had a drain in the center of the floor. And they went down and took pieces of that drain up. Alluding to, you're the crime scene expert. You processed over 2,500 crime scenes. Alluding to?
I'm sorry, alluding to
when they took
the traps. They took the traps because they're looking.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, they're looking for dismembered body parts. They're looking for blood. They're looking for possible maggots and so forth that may have fed on the bodies while they were there or in the drain, because the flies will go wherever they smell the scent of death. Okay, and so if there's body parts in drain, I mean, I had this one kid. He was mentally ill, and he was off his meds, and he asked his parents to borrow the car, and they said no because he was acting very erratic that day. And they adopted this kid knowing that he had this mental illness, and they were senior citizens, and he was in his 20s, and he murdered both of them, stabbed them to death, and then he began to dismember them in the basement. And he went to every bathroom in the house and tried to flush their body parts down the drain. And the blood in the basement, was about 2 to 3 inches deep when I had to walk through it. I had put boots on and everything, and he used a tree saw. He used a electric kitchen knife. He used so many different things, but he ended up clogging all of the plumbing in the house. And so I had to get to the main sewer pipe for the house. And when I opened that up, the body parts was stuck there, and had to remove these things and package it up. Right. He cut a leg off his father, and across the street was a highway, a fence, and a highway, and he threw that leg across there. He took one of the heads and he put it in the sewer outside the house. This, I mean, I've seen some horrific things, but this plumbing stuff happens a lot more than you think, where they try to, think about it. Like, we had Tommy Karate, who was a mafia hitman, but he was a disposal expert. They call him Tommy Karate because he chopped people up. Well, where did he do it? He did it in his bathtub. Then we had another guy, another mafia hitman. His name was DeMeo. And he was a relative of one of our famous medical examiner's office. And DeMeo was originally a butcher. Okay, so he was a trained butcher. And so he used to dissect people that the mob killed in his bathroom in Brooklyn, and then dispose of them. Yeah, so these traps in plumbing, they capture a lot of evidence. You
and just have to go for years and years and years. I mean, yes. This is a 12-year investigation. We're going back into the 90s, perhaps, that some of these murders took place. Hey, I have a question from someone in the audience, Ed. Somebody just said you don't get paid enough to deal with that type of evidence, but this is one of the more extreme jobs, and there have been probably many more horrific than that. Ed, question from the audience: why did they excavate the whole backyard, and what did they have to do to get to excavate that backyard? A court order?
They had to get a judge's order to do it, and they're looking for buried body parts and buried victims.
And we saw them taking photographs around this area here when it was dug deep. It was almost dug down like a grave, and they dug down really deep here. And they were in Tyvek suits, and remember they were leaning over, and we thought it was bones.
Yeah, we found Tommy Karate's victims buried in Staten Island, in a secluded area on the west shore of Staten Island. They had started to build a shopping center, and during the construction and excavation for foundations and everything, all of a sudden a body popped up. Okay, and so that led us there, and then we scanned it with ground penetrating radar. We did metal probes. It was actually the probes that found these body parts because he put them in suitcases. And so, you're pushing this T probe down, and all of a sudden you hit bink, 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 and then you dig down there in this mud, and there's a suitcase full of body parts. And so we dug up his whole graveyard because he was constantly going there after disposing of the bodies in this same area. And then, the other day we went and met over in Brooklyn, in Brownsville, by the Bell Parkway. Well, that was another dumping ground.
I remember I worked there. Yeah. But Ed, it's funny you said that because Rex Heuermann favored the Ocean Parkway for scattering and dumping his victims. And if it wasn't for Shannon Gilbert, I don't know if we would have ever found any of the remains of these victims, because they were searching for her. And remember the Suffolk County canine and his dog, they found one body, pieces of body parts, then another. Evie 45645, the History Chick's mom, she says, thank you for sending in the super chat. She says, the Long Island serial killer case is what first brought me to your channel. Ron and Ed, the best. Thank you for your content and expertise. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you. And, the next super chat from Allie W says it all. Remembering Shannon Gilbert on a day like this. Tomorrow is going to be bittersweet, not only for the families, but for Long Island community. Think about this, folks. We talk about Nancy Guthrie and the Tucson community, the residents, the elderly folks, and people who live in that community in the foothills there. You know how many women and families were frightened? They were scared to death for decades because there was a serial killer on the loose on Long Island. You know how many people were afraid to send their kids to the beach? Kids love to go to Jones Beach and go to the beach for the beach day. There was a long period of time where people were like, you're not going unless I go with you. So this is going to be bittersweet for the community, for the families first and foremost, and for the law enforcement who were involved in bringing this case to justice. And we got to tip our cap to our former retired NYPD Rodney Harrison. He really took the ball and ran with it. What do you got up there, Ed?
So, okie dokie 7777. Question. Ed, without DNA, would they have been able to put all the severed parts in Rex's case, or others for that matter? Well, in Rex's case, okay, the pivotal DNA was his family and his hairs that were found on these dismembered bodies. Okay, so that was really a linchpin in connecting Rex to all of these murders.
Yeah.
And then the DNA, extracting the DNA. And I was at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office when the Suffolk County Medical Examiner's Office sought assistance from us to help him with these victims, and extracting their DNA and getting profiles and identifying through layers of decomp skin, tattoos, and so forth that were on these bodies to help identify them with DNA from their loved ones.
Ed, look at this. They're going with wheelbarrows back and forth to the backyard, moving dirt and debris. Here's another guy going back with more,
empty wheelbarrow.
Yeah, another empty wheelbarrow. Were they taking, and I'm asking.
They were sifting.
Were they sifting, or were they actually sifting and maybe taking some of the soil for analysis?
Well, I'm not sure if they're taking the soil for analysis, but if a body part came from a particular soil that was dug up and sifted, then yeah, that would be fine. But in most cases, normally we grid that out in the back. We know exactly what grid the soil is coming from, and then we create the clean workspace. Apparently, it looks like it's in the front of the house,
Right.
where we lay down the tarps and we have the clean sifters, and we put the soil in the sifters and sift them through screens, layers of screens of various dimensions.
Let me also ask this too, Ed. Could there have been a potential, and these are always, anything's possible. Could it potentially be that Rex Heuermann could have maybe at one point had one of his victims buried in this yard and then unearthed that victim sometime later and then brought her out to dump on at Gilgo Beach along the parkway over there, and perhaps they were doing comparisons from these sites, because we saw them dig down deep in some of them, like really down deep. Maybe getting a piece of soil sample and comparing it to the remains that they recovered, or is that ship sailed with all the years that went by that they were out there in the beach along Ocean Parkway there? I
mean, if they found, they could have found plant life and soil embedded in the wrapping that he used. He used that
burlap kind of
burlap sacks. And, they could have found stuff that could have been linked back to his property. Yes. Remember, everything in life has DNA or RNA. So even those trees, the grass, the plants of his property have unique DNA. And based upon where his house was, and based upon where Gilgo Beach is, and the plant life in Gilgo Beach is much different than the plant life here because it's close to the ocean, and they have different characteristics. So they will have different DNA, different pollen, things of that nature. Now, pollen, it goes everywhere, okay? And it gets trapped in our clothing, in our weaves. And just think of like the Shroud of Turin, okay? They have found seeds and pollen in the Shroud of Turin that date back to biblical times, okay? And because of the plant life there, they know exactly what part of the world the plant came from. So they know this was from the Middle East and the areas of Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and Judea, and so forth.
There you have it. Ed Wallace, always giving us knowledge. This is an overhead look. This is drone footage from the summer of 2023, July. This is July 24th of 2023. Beautiful summer day. And the chaos that was happening outside of Rex Heuermann's home that lasted many weeks, where this block was shut down. And they, as you can see, the neighbor across the street, directly across, allowed the law enforcement to use their paved driveway. It looks like they have pavers there or brick to, kind of tack up and get out of the sun and get here into the shade. I watched them from up the street many a day, walking up and down the sidewalk and, going here and perhaps even eating meals and so forth. They had a temporary headquarters vehicle, so they were able to get out of the sun, but they were out there. It was 80, 90 degree temperatures. And so much evidence was taken. And we watched truck after truck after truck leaving. And don't forget, they had Rex Heuermann had his own little self-storage place in Amityville. I forgot the name of it. I think it was Ace Storage or something like that. And there was a lot of stuff in storage. God only knows what this creep took from the victims and kept in storage.
Remember, the medical examiners went out there to that storage facility.
The medical examiner. And I asked you specifically, because many people asked, does the medical examiner just come out just to take a peek, or do they come out when they have a reason? Ed?
Well, typically the detectives would see something and they would understand that this is not their bailiwick, this is not their expertise. And in this case, they made a notification to the medical examiner's office, could you come out and look at something that we found here? Because that's the only way they're coming out. They're not just going to invite themselves to this party, okay? so they went out there to give the detectives their expertise on what they were looking at. I mean, I've had cases where, missing person cases, and then a private investigator was hired, and they found, a bag of bones, a black plastic bag containing bones in it, and they were adamant that this was the victim, along the side of one of our elevated or exposed subway systems in Queens. And when I went out there, and I knew right away what I was looking at was not human, but I had to defer to the forensic anthropologist from the medical examiner. So I called them out and said, come out here and just confirm what I'm looking at here, because I believe it's a dog and not a human. And sure enough, they came out, and they, the squad came out, and the detectives and the private detective was there, and he was insistent that it was human. And the forensic anthropologist came out and said, sorry, it's a canine.
Wow. So yeah, we saw the medical examiner's office come out there, and you just really summed it up. They don't just come out to take looks around. The medical examiners have a job to do. And when they come out, it's because there's some type of human remains or something that needs to be identified, as you just alluded to. Sometimes maybe not, maybe it's, but in this case, I would have to bet my bottom dollar that they were out there because they found some type of human remains, whether it be bones or, what if he cut a finger? I hate to be, gory here, cut a finger or cut a body part off and kept it. I mean, you never know with this guy. He's a freak. Let's listen to this. This just dropped about 30 minutes, 40 minutes ago. So let's listen to it. I haven't listened to this. So.
Expected in court tomorrow in Riverhead as the man accused of being the Gilgo Beach serial killer faces a judge and is expected to plead guilty to multiple murders.
Carolyn Gussoff has been covering the cases for decades and has a preview tonight of what we can expect in court.
He stood stone-faced at every court appearance, denying he is the long-sought Long Island serial killer.
Rex, did you do it?
On Wednesday, Rex Heuermann's expected to announce a stunning reversal, entering guilt.
Guys, if you haven't watched that was the actual day he was arrested and brought in from New York City to Suffolk County. So that was July 13th of 2023, where that reporter asked him, Rex, did you do it? I'll just go back really quick to this part, because I'll never forget this as long as I'm alive. I remember this like it was yesterday. For those of you in the chat, if you remember this, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't remember it, this was the day he was marched out. Suffolk County Police, State Police, Nassau County Police, the Sheriff's Department, the State Police, numerous agencies involved in this case.
Did you do it?
On Wednesday, Rex Heuermann's expected to announce a stunning reversal, entering guilty pleas in all 7 murders he's charged with, and an 8th, all sex workers, their body parts dumped in desolate locations decades ago, including Gilgo Beach.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us.
Never forget that one either, Rodney Harrison, calling him a demon. And that was very fitting. He is major league, a demon. Ed, I know you're on board with this.
100%.
You don't hear this often from a police commissioner. Rodney Harrison, former New York City chief of detectives, a badass in law enforcement. He called him a demon, and rightfully so.
He's going to be studied in prison by psychoanalysts and the profilers to see what makes him tick. Okay. I'd like to see an in-depth psychoanalysis done on this guy.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping that the FBI and the profilers get a hold of him and really, give him the once or twice over.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us.
The only thing I can tell you that he did say as he was in tears was, I didn't do this.
The arrest of the Massapequa Park father and architect in 2023 ended a hunt which many feared would never catch the prolific killer. 10 sets of human remains unearthed after the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert in 2010. And then for years, a cold case. But the break came when investigators returned to overlooked evidence and found a unique truck, a green Chevy Avalanche, seen by a victim's roommate and owned by Heuermann. Then
Remember how we studied that green Chevy Avalanche, Ed, and we had Tommy Burke come on and talk about all the onboard diagnostics and telematics on those GM trucks. Here's the pizza crust. This is what they took because he, for whatever reason,
discarded it in the garbage after eating it.
Who doesn't like pizza crust? Come on, or crying out loud! And a big dude like that, he left these pieces, and this was his undoing. Because if you leave,
He left his DNA.
Yeah, you discarded
DNA. Yeah. No warrant needed. No consent.
Left it in a New York City green garbage pail. We showed a picture of that, and the detectives were following him, and they were like, "Bingo, Yahtzee, don't pass go." And this is what was his undoing. Was the pizza crust. So
then DNA from pizza crust he threw away matched hair found on the victims. Weeks of scouring his house turned up digital evidence of obsessive online searches for sexual violence.
Let's just stop that just for a second here. And I want to put this all full circle and put this right in front of you guys, because this is some of the stuff that he searched for, and this is what TV could show. I have pages and pages and pages of vile searches that he did. But if you look at this stuff, he was looking at what the investigators were doing or what they can and can't do. I mean, serial killers by state, map of all known serial killers, unsolved serial killer cases, America's 5 most notorious old cases, 11 currently active serial killers, 8 terrifying active serial killers. I mean, this guy is a demon.
The Gilgo murders and a chilling planning document, how to kill and avoid detection.
I think Heuermann will go down as maybe the last serial killer case in American history because of changes in technology.
Former prosecutor Nima Rahmani says today's DNA and high-tech surveillance gives law enforcement the upper hand. A plea would end years of speculation and fear, but questions linger. Attorney John Ray represents one victim's son who filed a wrongful death lawsuit naming Heuermann's ex-wife and daughter, too.
His family knew or should have known what was going on in that basement. These girls were being tortured and slaughtered in his own house, a 1,343 square foot house.
I mean, Ed, for him to say that, he has to know more information as an attorney. At least I would hope. I mean, I'm speaking for John Ray. I'm not him. I'm not, I never met him. I talked to him on the phone a couple of times. But to say what he just said, you got to have really strong evidence that was in fact something that happened. And I don't know. He knows a lot of people. He hires a lot of retired Suffolk County detectives. He has a lot of people that work for him. I don't know if you know him well, but I don't. But I think that's a heavy accusation right there, big time.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that if it was
Mrs. Ellerup,
if it was false, that there'd be suits against him.
Yeah, and this is what we're going to hear the attorney for Asa Ellerup say. We'll listen to that in a second. But there was a press conference on their front lawn.
These girls were being tortured and slaughtered in his own house, a 1,343 square foot house.
Mrs. Ellerup and Victoria Heuermann had no knowledge, no involvement in, no connection whatsoever to these horrific crimes.
Heuermann is expected to admit to each murder in court, but with no trial, victims may not get all the answers they're seeking. Sources say that may be one of the reasons behind his decision to change his plea to avoid a trial and all its details for himself and his family. In Massapequa Park, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff.
So this is...
Wait. You don't get off that easy, Ron.
I didn't go back. We didn't go back yet. We do have plans to go back. We do have plans.
Did you go back to Gilgo Beach? Well, they did go back. They did go. And remember, that was the great mosquito attack video.
She's asked, little Patty's asked, she's been around for a long time. She's asking if we ever went back after that. And
no,
I have PTSD.
They're afraid of the mosquitoes.
I have PTSD over that. So somebody said in the chat, bullshit. Palcat says bullshit. The wife knows. I mean, that's not an outrageous argument to have because it's a small little house. Yes, it's said that he did all his dirty deeds when she went on vacation, but remember that one, I think it was the Brigada murder. There was John Ray brought in people who said that a New York City detective drove her and the Brigada was at the location already and she saw her running down the street partially naked or something like that. It was a crazy story, but we covered that. You remember, Ed?
We did, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who feel that Asa Elarup had knowledge of her husband's deviant sexual behavior. And
well, they're right, because they said she was a part of the swinging.
Right. Yes. Yep. And there's a lot to unpack here, but we want to concentrate on what's going to happen tomorrow. And I'm hopeful that tomorrow that Rex Heuermann doesn't just go into that court and plead guilty. And the judge asks him, did you in fact murder Karen Brigada? And he only gets to say yes, and then nothing more. That would be really disappointing for not only the general public, but first and foremost, the families, because I think these families want to know after all these years what the hell this monster did to their loved ones. And it's their right to know.
CBS News, New York.
Now, Heuermann has been near solitary confinement 23 hours a day in custody since his arrest nearly 3 years ago.
He should be underneath the jail in Riverhead. That, by the way, that jail in Riverhead, I've been in there hundreds of times. It's a real shithole. It's a nasty place, and I'm glad he's there. Ed, do you see anything in the chat? Let's take some questions before we wrap it up, because we've got a big day tomorrow. I know you're going to be you're on the road, you're traveling. Lieutenant Joe Cardinale, who is actually friends with Ray Tierney. I didn't know this until tonight. Joe Cardinale is going to join me tomorrow as we go over the press conference and the events of the day. And he's got some inside info that he'll be able to speak about once Rex Heuermann pleads guilty tomorrow. That will be interesting. I will have to say to you guys, you want to be here tomorrow. It's going to, when we're done with this live stream, it's going to teleport you to the live event for tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss what Lieutenant Joe Cardinale has to tell you guys about this case. It's going to be interesting. Ed, you see anything in the chat?
No.
Nobody's got
good banter going back and forth. Very interesting.
Yeah. So, this case, as we said, is about the victims and their families. And we always hold true to putting the victims and their families first. And this is what we're talking about here. These 8 victims who died at the hands of Rex Heuermann, and 5 terabytes of evidence is just a tremendous amount of evidence.
I think there's way more.
Yeah, that's what they put out, 5 terabytes that was shared with Rex Heuermann's defense attorney.
No, I'm saying I think there are way more victims.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely. I believe so too. Benzie, New York City says, I believe that there's more. Wait a minute. Somebody said, I believe there's more victims too. Agreeing with you. He will not be sentenced tomorrow. It'll be at a different date. New York State does not have the death penalty. So death penalty was never on the table for this. We have to see if there was in fact a deal. When Ray Tierney was questioned on if there was a deal, he said no, none that he was aware of. So these are the victims. I'll put them up there on the board. Their parents, their families, their loved ones have been suffering for years and years and years with not knowing the exact answers. So very, very sad, very, very unfortunate. Sharon, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you to the channel members, the replay viewers. Yeah, Rican 80 says, no point for him taking a plea for the life sentence. I will say this. The only thing I think that might be possible is that Rex Heuermann is trying to spare his family. Asa Ellerup, his daughter, I believe his son is Asa's from a previous marriage. So he's looking to try to say, hey, they got me. There's no way I'm going to get out of this. There's no way I'm going to be able to put on a defense with the amount of evidence they have in my phones, the pictures I took, the documentation that I documented on how to torture and how to inflict more harm onto people and how to get them to be quiet. Remember that, Ed? How to muffle the noise. This guy detailed and wrote down his sick, deviant, sexual behavior and torturous behavior. He documented it, and there's more that we don't even know about. Jen, thank you for gifting a membership. Queens, thank you for being here, and thank you for the $6.99 super sticker from Canada. We love our friends from outside the country. Lisa, thank you for the super sticker. Kitty, thank you for being here for over 36 months. She says, thank you, DutyRon and Ed. Ed traveled over 4 hours on the road today, and he didn't even get dinner yet. So Ed is a trooper. I told him he should have took the night off, but he is dedicated. He's dedicated. All right. I'm going to go to you, Ed, for some final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, folks, I want to thank you for sharing your valuable time with us tonight and listening to us. I know you can get your true crime fix anywhere you like on the internet, and it's an honor that you're sharing your time with us, spreading the word about us. We appreciate you. We thank you very much. We love you. And as always, folks, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen to that, brother. We, again, send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the victims' families, the victims, obviously, and all that are responsible for bringing justice. Folks that work on this case from the DA's squad, the folks who have been working tirelessly over the course of decades to bring justice. And there's probably still much, much more to do and work on. Like people are saying, there's many more victims of Rex Heuermann, not just in the New York area. I believe in the areas that he traveled, you don't just become a good person when you go and you leave the country, or if you leave to go to the to vacation homes and go into Vegas. Vegas is known for sex workers, ladies of the night, whatever you want to refer to the trade as. And in Vegas, I feel strongly about that location, that there are many more potential victims of Rex Heuermann in Las Vegas because he traveled there. He had a timeshare there. Convenient, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's also a serial killer very similar to this in Atlantic City.
There you have it. Let's see. Angela is late to the party. She's just showing up. Angela is saying, good evening, Ron and Ed. Yes, I know you're about to end, so I'm gonna have to rewind. We love you, Ange. Thank you for rewinding. Hey, to the replay viewers, the super chatters, the moderators, the folks who support us to buy me a cup of coffee and all that good stuff, I want to say thank you to you because we love our replay viewers. Let us know where you're watching, city, state, and if you're outside the country, also let us know where you're watching from on the replay. Put it in the comments down below in the comment section. Here in the live chat, we love to see it as well. Again, I want to end this video with the victims highlighted on the screen. Tomorrow, wheels of justice will continue to move, and much appreciated. Michelina, been with us from the beginning. Thank you for being here. Hello from New Jersey, and thank you all for being here. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to wish you a good evening. We'll see you at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. Please go over to that video that you're going to be teleported to. Give it a thumbs up. Save it. Put the notify me so you won't forget. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. Love and respect from New York and an undisclosed location.